Aloha, my kako, and welcome back to another book review. I am Mama Kitty, and today we are going to be reviewing The Best Friend Problem by Mariah Ankenman. I'm super excited to share this book with you. I've been following Ankenman on TikTok for quite a while. I just really like her energy, and I think her writing is really kind of fun and great, and so let's just jump right in. The Goodreads synopsis is as follows. Prudence Carlson has been lucky in life. A fulfilling wedding planning business run with her girlfriends in Colorado, plus the best guy friend ever in her firefighter bestie Finn. All that's missing from it is a baby. Luckily, it's the 21st century, and Prue can take matters into her own hands. She doesn't need to find true love to create the future love of her life. Except all this talk of babies and insemination, and Prue and Finn cross the line they never expected to. Sure, one night of passion won't change their close friendship until Prue goes in for a fertility checkup to find she's already pregnant. As best friends, Prue and Finn have survived college, new jobs, and bad breakups, but can they survive crib shopping, birth classes, and late night cravings? Especially when Finn has never considered himself even remotely daddy material. Alright, so let's get into the good stuff. So we have Prue, love her. Love. Love, 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 love. And then we have Finn. Love, 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 love. Much yum. Very yum. All the yum. Prue is a wonderful character, though I do have to acknowledge that she is actually pretty standard as far as this genre goes, right? But that didn't take away from the fact that she was also kind of unique, I guess. Not really, but, and I appreciated that she had the flaws that she had, right? She was a planner, and she couldn't handle change, really, right? She has a really hard time with her plans falling through, which I totally can relate to. But she has this group of friends right around her. She has Finn, and I really enjoyed watching her plan out, right, her dreams and her plans and what she wanted with the baby, right, and just taking all of that into her own hands, whether the plans fell apart or not, and making it her own. And as someone who really wants to be a mom, I felt really seen and kind of validated in that sense, regarding like Prue's whole, well, if I'm not going to be able to find true love before then I'm just going to have a baby by myself. I also liked that her flaws were the whole fear of love and fear of change, right? And plans falling through and stuff like that. I appreciated, again, that part of her that felt so realistic. Finn was also prime. Big fan, 10 out of 10, no notes. I really liked, like, my favorite thing about him was how his job factored into everything he did on and off page, right? All of his actions, all of his decisions, all of his reactions to Prue, to the baby, to his life, right? It was interesting that he wanted what he wanted and didn't want what he didn't want because of his job. I thought that was kind of fun and unique. And because I thought of that, I was a little disappointed that it felt like he kind of let go of those work-related convictions really, really quickly. I mean, like, I guess at a certain point, that's kind of how love interests roll, right? That's their whole thing. But it was just such a prominent factor for him that when he was just like, la, la, di, da, then I was just kind of bummed out a little bit. Before I get to the romance and pacing and yada yada, I really want to take a moment to acknowledge the absolute units Prue had for friends, because Lily and Mo were lovely. Prue was so lucky to have them in her life, right? They were instrumental in keeping Prue sane. I liked that their personalities were super different, not even from just each other, but from Prue's as well, right? It made for a very diverse dynamic between the three of them. They are going to be in the next two books, because this is a trilogy called The Mile High Happiness. And Lily and Mo both get their own book, and I'm very excited to see their happy ending, because I definitely think they deserve it. Okay, so the romance. Generally, the romance was fine. You know, it was a romance novel. I got the romance was fine. What I wasn't particularly a fan of was the, like, oh, well, I guess I've actually been in love with my best friend this whole time. Like, I kind of hate that. It was the same on Prue's end, sort of. It was a little slower realization, I think. But it just feels like it cheapens the friendship a little bit, right? And it kind of goes to that whole saying of, like, boys and girls can't be friends because guys just want to sleep with you, right? When like I don't agree with that. I think that boys and girls can just be friends, and that's fine. And so the idea that maybe potentially, possibly, probably he was in love with her and she was in love with him the entire time is just kind of like, really, really. Like, I thought they were just kind of fire together. Fire, get it? Because he's a firefighter. So I was a little bummed out. Like, I just wish it had gone differently. Differently how? No idea. Great question. But it's one of those things where it bothered me enough that I needed to mention it. And now I've mentioned it, so we can move on. Once they sort of, Finn and Prue started dancing around each other after the pregnancy announcement, that's when I feel like I kind of really got invested in their romance. There was a lot of the what are we? Don't ignore me. Hello. Are we anything? Are we still friends? And all of that yada yada stuff. I live for the yada yada. I also liked the way they sort of handled themselves, right, around the whole pregnancy situation. I appreciated that it wasn't smooth sailing from the get-go, right? It was bumpy at first. It was especially because, Finn and Prue were still trying to figure out what they wanted from each other in regards to this baby that they're making. And so I appreciated that it wasn't, like I said, smooth sailing all the way through. And I appreciated that Prue was freaking out, right? Because I think that's totally valid to be freaking out when you accidentally have a child with your best friend. And I liked how her friends and Finn rallied around her, right? And really, it takes a village, and she had her village, and they were the best village she could have had. And I think that, yeah, she is. Referring to the synopsis, she's really lucky. The pacing was good. Though we did have sort of a omniscient narrator situation, which I don't usually mind. But it was occasionally a little bit confusing when we've switched, back and forth between whose head we're in. Because sometimes we'll be in Prue's head, and then all of a sudden we'll no longer be in Prue's head, but we don't know whose head we're in because it wasn't necessarily indicated very, very clearly until several sentences or a couple paragraphs later. It's like, Finn thought, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's been that we've switched narrators, which is fine. I feel like that kind of little bit of confusion in that area tends to be sort of like on par with omniscient narrating, but I just it was distracting a little bit. Not enough for me to like stop reading, obviously, but just enough where I was aware of it. I also thought that the timescapes were really subtle and really well done. I appreciated that they kind of happened with the milestones of the pregnancy, right? So it was several months or a month or two more in between each section, I suppose. And I think that was a really smart way to go about that. Let's just say I took notes. Overall, I really, really liked this book. I did like throw it across the room at one point, and like I've never actually physically thrown a book across the room, but this one I just couldn't. Like, Finn, it was a not right now, you booger situation, and then poof, my book. So anyway, I'm giving this a very, very solid 5 out of 5 stars. It flew great, so gotta give it that recognition. It was everything I was expecting and more, and if a book makes me laugh out loud, giggle and kick my feet, or force me to throw it across the room, it's an automatic 5. That's just how it goes. The next book we'll be reviewing is either Book Lovers by Emily Henry, which is another like bookish romance, right, from what I could tell, or Toxic by Nicole Blanchard, which is a dark romance, like dark. Like, I didn't quite understand what I was getting into dark, so keep that in mind. But I'm very, very stoked to read both of them, and it'll basically just depend on which one I zoom through quickest, which will probably be Toxic. So make sure that you follow the channel and hit that notification button so that you know when those videos come out. I will put Ankenman's TikTok in the description below, along with all of my socials, obviously. Definitely go check out her content if you're into book talk kind stuff. She's very entertaining. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Mwah! Bye!